I still remember the exact moment the world reset. 1 second I was lying in a hospital bed, lungs filled with blood, the impact of Jamie's car crushing every bone in my body. And the next, I was sitting at the dinner table, holding a cracked bowl of soup, watching my younger sister kneel on the floor again, same tears, same trembling voice. "Mom, please," she sobbed, just like last time. "Let my elder sister go to school. I'll give up my future. I'll marry Lucian." There it was. The line that started everything. In my last life, I didn't know this was all an act. I didn't realize that behind her self-sacrifice was a smirk. That while I studied hard and fought to keep our family's crumbling company afloat, Jamie bribed the maid, rigged the lottery, and made sure I was the one who drew the fated lot to marry Lucian, the cold, wealthy heir to the most powerful family in the city, who had been in a coma since a car accident 6 months ago, less than a month after the wedding. He woke up, and everything changed. They credited me for his recovery, showered me with gifts, treated me like a treasure. Jamie, on the other hand, married a man she thought was rich only to be abused, cheated, and left in the dark. And when I became everything she had wanted to be, she drove her car straight into me, screaming that I stole her life. But now we were both back to the beginning, except this time, I knew the game. And I was the one holding the cards. Jamie knelt on the cold floor, clutching Mom's skirt like a desperate child. "Please, let me marry Lucian. I'll do it. I'm not afraid of being a widow forever." Mom's eyes welled with tears, just like before. She looked at me, guilt flickering in her expression. "Audrey, you're in your 3rd year at a top university. Jamie's only at a 3rd-rate college. She's willing to do this for the family." Willing? I almost laughed. "She's dying too." Jamie bowed low, her forehead nearly touching the floor. "I want to help. I'm not afraid." But her fingers clenched the carpet too tightly. Her shoulders shook not from sorrow, but from excitement. She thought she was taking the role of the sacrificial lamb again. She thought this was her path to glory. She didn't know that Lucian was no prince. I lowered my spoon, set it gently on the table, and spoke softly. "If she's volunteering, I won't stop her." Mom blinked in surprise. "You're okay with this?" Jamie froze. In my past life, I had begged to switch. Now, I just smiled. "She's brave. I admire that." I watched as Jamie's lips twitched. She looked up, eyes flickering with confusion. She wasn't expecting me to give up so easily. But how could she know that I wasn't giving up at all? I was gifting her a nightmare. The next few days were a strange dream. Jamie strutted around the house like she already wore a crown. She ordered me around, asking for apples, making me fetch her dresses, demanding I praise her sacrifice in front of guests. I smiled through all of it. I peeled her fruit. I fed her while she lay on the couch like royalty. And when she spat it out in front of Mom and screamed that I gave her a bad piece, I didn't flinch. I just wiped my face and offered another slice, because I knew what was coming. She didn't. The wedding came quickly. Lucian's family spared no expense, gold-lined invitations, press coverage, designer gowns. Jamie wore a silk veil and strutted down the aisle like a celebrity. I stood at the back, watching Darren, the second son of Lucian's family, carry Lucian's framed photo up to the altar. Darren, the one who, in my last life, forced me to kneel, humiliated me, locked me in rooms for days without food. He wasn't just cruel, he was sick. And no one stopped him, because the Lucian family didn't care about daughters-in-law, they owned them. Jamie didn't notice the way Darren looked at her. She didn't see the twitch in his jaw when she smiled too brightly. She only saw the flash of cameras, the crowd of envious girls watching her become young mistress of the Lucian family. She was too busy playing queen to see the wolf standing beside her. That night, after the ceremony, Jamie messaged me, "Sister, I know you're jealous. Don't be. You'll find someone to someday." I didn't reply, because I knew, tonight, Darren would take her. Lucian, still in a coma, lay in the massive bed. Darren would step in for the wedding night. And Jamie, my poor, foolish, reborn sister, would realize too late that she traded one hell for another. I didn't need to lift a finger. She'd walk right into her own destruction. And I could finally build a life that was mine. Jamie's messages didn't stop after the wedding. Each one was a new attempt to twist the knife. "Sister, you should have seen the diamonds Lucian's family gave me last night. Their butler even bowed to me when I walked in. Do you know what that feels like? I'll let you borrow my tiaras sometime." Maybe you'll feel what it's like to be truly valued. I never replied. She was too busy living her fantasy to notice the cracks forming beneath her feet. She didn't know what it meant to be married into that family. She thought she'd earned love and status. She didn't realize she'd just volunteered for a prison sentence with a velvet lining, because in the Lucian family, wives weren't partners. They were possessions. When I lived in that house, I couldn't make phone calls without permission. I had to smile at parties even when I was bleeding. I learned to read expressions like a trained dog, just to avoid setting off Lucian or Darren. Jamie thought she was walking into royalty. She didn't realize she was stepping into a cage with the door locked from the outside. But that night, the cage snapped shut. I heard about it from a maid who used to work there and now worked for me. She screamed all night. The maid whispered over the phone. Mr. Darren told her she had to sleep in the same bed as young Master Lucian, but he never left the room. I didn't ask for more details. I didn't need them. I remembered in my last life, that same room had stolen years of my strength, my self-worth, and my voice. Jamie thought she'd stolen my place. In truth, I had handed it to her, like a poison glass of wine, and she drank it all with a smile. The next day, she returned to our house like a ghost. She shuffled inside, her hands trembling, her makeup barely covering the bruise near her lip. I greeted her at the door with a warm smile and offered her tea. She stared at me like I was the villain in a story she didn't understand. You planned this, she whispered. I tilted my head. Planned what? You knew. You wanted me to suffer, didn't you? You volunteered, Jamie, I said gently. You begged to marry him. You said it was a sacrifice. I didn't know it would be like this. And yet, you did it out of love for the family. Isn't that what you told everyone? Her face twisted. You're a monster. No, I said, my voice calm. I'm just not a fool anymore. She left without finishing her tea. Mom and Dad didn't ask questions. They were too relieved the Lucian family had bailed them out of debt. Their business was back on track. The scandal of near bankruptcy forgotten under the glamour of Jamie's marriage. But the air in the house had shifted. Jamie no longer barked orders. She no longer tossed insults at me during dinner. In fact, she barely spoke. She was starting to realize that the crown she wore came with shackles. A week later, I overheard her in the garden, speaking to someone on the phone in hushed tones. No, I can't come back tonight. Please, Darren. Said he'd be angry if I. Her voice cracked. I leaned against the doorway and watched her. She saw me, flinched, then quickly ended the call. You look tired, I said kindly. I'm fine. You're wearing the same clothes as yesterday. She clenched her fists. I said I'm fine. I nodded. Good, then I'm happy for you. That night, she sent me a new message. Don't think this changes anything. I'm still the one married to Lucian. I'm still above you. I didn't reply, because by then, I was already meeting with my legal team. I had started rebuilding our family's business in secret, using every lesson I had learned in my last life. Lucian's family owned the city's old money and connections, but I had something stronger, experience, and the hunger to never be helpless again. While Jamie crumbled behind palace walls, I rose quietly, but steadily. A month passed, and then, Lucian woke up, again. Only this time, Jamie was by his side, not me. The media went wild. Miracle recovery. They called it. They praised Jamie's love and devotion, called her his lucky star. Lucian's mother gifted her a villa by the sea. His father wrote her name into their private family trust. From the outside, it looked like Jamie had won again. Only, I knew better. Because Lucian wasn't just rich, he was cruel. He liked to control, to manipulate. In my past life, he had broken me slowly, but surely. Jamie thought she was ascending a throne. She didn't realize it was a butcher's table, and I finally free was just getting started. A week after Lucian woke up, Jamie came back to visit our parents. It was her idea. She had a driver pull up in a luxury car, the same model Lucian had gifted me in my previous life. She stepped out with her chin high, a glittering necklace around her throat, oversized sunglasses hiding half her face. I was in the garden when she walked in. She made sure to pause dramatically in the entryway, where sunlight would hit the diamonds. Just right, sister, she said with a sickly sweet smile. Aren't you going to greet me? I looked up from my sketchpad. Oh, you're here. Jamie's smile faltered slightly. Lucian's family treats me very well. You were right to let me marry him. He woke up and said I'm the only one he remembers. The whole family adores me. I closed my book slowly. That's wonderful. You finally have everything you wanted. She stiffened. You sound sarcastic. Not at all, I said. I'm truly glad you're getting what you deserve. She opened her mouth to retort, but Dad called us into the house. The moment we stepped inside, she transformed again. Sat straight, acted elegant. She helped Mom serve tea. She showed off a diamond bracelet. Lucian gave it to me for brushing his hair, she said with a giggle. Mom beamed. You've really matured, Jamie. I watched her play the part I once played: dutiful wife, adored daughter-in-law, lucky girl. But I could see the tremor in her fingers, the slight wince when she lifted her arm, the way her eyes darted to her phone like she was waiting for a command. When Dad asked how Lucian was doing, she laughed quickly. He's wonderful, so romantic. She didn't know that I saw through it all, because in my past life, I'd worn the same mask. Later that night, she cornered me in the hallway as I returned from my room. Stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like you pity me. I tilted my head. Why would I pity someone who has everything? Don't play dumb, Audrey. You think I don't know what you're doing? You're waiting for me to fall apart. No, I said gently. I'm watching you unravel in real time. Her expression twisted. Lucian loves me. He said he's never felt this way about anyone. I said nothing. He told me last night that he wants to start over, that he's glad I was the one who stayed by his side while he was unconscious. Still, I didn't speak, and he said, he doesn't even remember you. That made me pause, not because I believed her, but because I knew exactly what Lucian was doing. He was starting the same game he played with me before: the love bombing, the gifts, the adoration, and then the slow erosion, the control disguised as care, the gaslighting wrapped in compliments, the twisted games masked as devotion. Jamie had no idea what she was in for. I hope he never remembers me, I said, voice cold, because I don't want anything tying me to that family ever again. Don't act so pure. I saw the way Darren looked at you during the wedding. I froze. She smirked. You think I didn't notice? He was staring at you the whole time. He even asked about you later. I forced myself to relax. Darren stares at everyone. Jamie stepped closer, her tone dropping. Stay away from him. Stay away from Lucian. You're not welcome near my family. You mean Lucian's family, I corrected. It was never yours. She narrowed her eyes. Touch either of them and I'll destroy you. And there it was, the first crack in her mask. I smiled. You should worry less about me and more about the monster you sleep beside every night. She didn't respond, just turned and walked away, her shoulders suddenly smaller than before. I returned to my room, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. On the screen were charts, numbers, and the preliminary draft of a business proposal. While Jamie was busy guarding a man, I was building an empire. I had taken everything I learned in the past: branding, live stream marketing, logistics, and reshaped the ruins of our old company. And it was working. Within months, we were profitable again, not just surviving, thriving. But I didn't brag. I didn't post photos or flaunt success. I let Jamie think I was still the girl peeling apples for her, because that's what she needed me to be, and sometimes, letting. He invited me to dinner. I hesitated at first, but something inside me whispered why not. So I went. He was polite, soft-spoken, smart. His name was Elias. Nothing like Lucian or Darren. No ego, no sharp edges, no hidden daggers behind a smile. I told him about my business plans, and he listened, actually listened, not like someone waiting to speak. When he asked if we could partner on a social commerce campaign, I agreed, because for the first time in a long time, a man saw my brain before my body. That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine and watched the city lights shimmer like stars. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was surviving. I felt like I was living. Jamie showed up uninvited a week later. She barged into the office wearing sunglasses indoors and perfume so strong it lingered in every corner. Her heels clicked against the marble floor like she wanted the entire building to know she had arrived. I want to speak to Audrey, she told the receptionist, chin lifted like a queen. Privately, my assistant knocked on my door, looking apologetic. She says it's urgent. I sighed, set down my pen, and waved her in. Jamie strode into my office like she owned it. Nice view, she said, eyes scanning the glass wall behind me. Thanks. It comes with years of hard work and not marrying a psychopath. Her jaw clenched. but she didn't take the bait. Instead, she sat across from me and crossed her legs carefully, as if pretending nothing was wrong. "I need your help." That surprised me. I tilted my head. I thought we weren't speaking. Something about cutting off TIs and striking each other with lightning if we broke it. She ignored the sarcasm. "It's Lucian. He's changed." I didn't reply. "I mean, more than usual. He doesn't touch me anymore. He barely looks at me unless there's media around." But when the cameras turn off, her voice broke. "He treats me like I'm invisible." I stayed silent. "He won't let me leave the house alone. He tracks my phone. Yesterday, he made me apologize for crying too loud." Now I lean forward, elbows on the desk. "And why are you telling me this?" Jamie's voice trembled. "Because you're the only one who knows what it's like." I studied her. She wasn't wearing makeup today. There were faint shadows under her eyes, and the way she clutched her handbag made her look like she was hanging on for balance. "You thought you could control him," I said. "That by getting to him first, you could rewrite the ending." She didn't answer. "You weren't in love with him. You were in love with what being his wife meant." Jamie swallowed hard. "You think you're the first woman who thought she could change a man like that?" I added. "I tried, and I bled for it. I thought I could handle it." She whispered. I didn't feel pity, but I understood. "So, what do you want, Jamie?" "I need a place to stay, just for a few nights. Somewhere Lucian won't find me." I paused, and then I smiled. "You're welcome to stay with Mom and Dad. They don't believe me. They think I'm ungrateful." "That's what happens when you spend your life crying wolf." Jamie's expression shattered. "You really won't help me. You warned me not to get near your husband. I'm just respecting your wishes." I stood up and walked to the door. "This conversation is over." She followed me out but didn't speak again. Her hands trembled as she stepped into the elevator. I watched the doors close, and only then did I exhale. That night, Elias called. "I was thinking," he said, "your product line deserves a stronger brand identity. What if we co-launch under a separate label?" I blinked. "Like, joint ownership?" 50-50, he said. "But you lead the vision. I'll handle investor relations." My pulse quickened. No man had ever offered me power like this. In my past life, every deal was handed to Lucian. Every decision went through his family. I signed documents under his name. I was nothing more than a vessel in a dress. But Elias didn't want to own me. He wanted to build something with me. "I'll think about it," I said. "Good. Don't rush." He didn't pressure. He didn't flatter. He respected my pace. And that made me want to say yes even more. 3 days later, I saw Jamie again. Only this time, it wasn't in my office. It was in the news. Young mistress of the Lucian family caught in hotel scandal. Surveillance leaked. My phone buzzed non-stop as videos spread like wildfire. Jamie arguing with a hotel clerk. Jamie dragging a suitcase out of a back entrance. Jamie screaming at a doorman who refused to let her in without Lucian's card. Lucian's family didn't issue a statement. They didn't need to. Silence from them was louder than any denial. She was being discarded, just like I had been, but this time, no one would catch her. Later that night, she showed up outside my building, drunk, hair tangled, lipstick smeared. She clung to the intercom like a drowning woman. "Audrey, please, I don't have anywhere else to go." Security called me. I stood in the lobby, watching her on the monitor screen, and for a moment, just one moment, I hesitated. Then I said, "Tell her the guest list is full. She'll need to try another tower." I didn't look back. Elias was waiting for me at the rooftop lounge. When I arrived, he raised his glass and smiled. "You okay?" he asked. "Perfect," I said, because I was. For the first time, I wasn't the girl picking up pieces. I was the one writing the story. And no one, not Lucian, not Darren, not even my sister, was holding the pen anymore. I didn't hear from Jamie for a while after that night. Not a message. Not a knock at my door. Nothing. And I knew better than to think she'd disappeared for good. People like Jamie don't vanish. They simmer. They plan. They wait for a weakness to show. But I didn't have any left to offer her. Instead, I focused on my business, on Elias, on what was real. The co-brand we launched, Velenora, grew faster than either of us expected. By the end of the first quarter, we had 4 influencers lined up, 2 regional campaigns, and a distribution deal pending with a European chain. Elias and I met constantly, early mornings, late evenings, working lunches that never felt like work. We talked about margins and packaging and color theory, and then sometimes, we didn't talk about business at all. He told me about his childhood, how he'd grown up between cities, how he'd learned to listen before he spoke because he hated being misunderstood. I told him about my mother's obsession with family appearances, my father's silence when things fell apart, and the way Jamie always managed to stand in the light, even when she didn't deserve it. He didn't judge. He didn't pity me. He just listened. One night, as we packed up our laptops in his apartment, Elias looked at me differently. "You're not just building a company," he said. "You're building a new version of yourself." I paused. "What do you mean?" "You're not trying to win anymore. You're trying to become untouchable." I didn't answer. But he was right. I wasn't climbing out of the mud to prove anything. I was paving a road no one could drag me down from ever again. The next morning, it happened. Jamie showed up on the front page again. But this time, it wasn't paparazzi.it. Was a lawsuit. Lucian Chen files for divorce. Accuses wife of infidelity, public embarrassment, and breach of trust. Underneath the headline was a single still frame from security footage. Jamie, in a hotel corridor, slapping a bellboy. Her face twisted in rage. The public backlash was instant. The news trended for days. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat, because I didn't need to. Karma at this point was just following the schedule. 2 days later, she came to my office. Again. But this time, she didn't storm in. She called first. She made an appointment. She waited in the lobby for 20 minutes without complaining. When she entered, she looked thinner, pale, her makeup carefully applied but failing to hide the weight under her eyes. "I'm not here to beg," she said, sitting down. "Good," I replied, flipping through paperwork. "I just want to understand something." I looked up. "You knew, didn't you?" she asked. That he'd turn on me. That Darren would start first. That the family would watch me burn. I closed the file gently. I didn't know the day or the hour, but I knew the storm would come. Jamie blinked rapidly. "You let it happen. You insisted on taking my place. You called it a sacrifice. I assumed you understood what that meant." She laughed, bitter and broken. "You always were better at pretending, and you always thought pretending made you powerful." We stared at each other in silence. Then she asked, voice lower, "Do you love Elias?" I didn't answer immediately. "He's different," she said. "I can tell. He looks at you like you matter." My fingers tightened around my pen. "And that bothers you?" Jamie shook her head. "No, it terrifies me." That caught me off guard. She stood, walked to the window, arms folded. "You're not just surviving anymore. You're becoming something I can't follow." "That was always the difference between us," I said quietly. "You fought for attention. I fought to be free." Jamie turned back to me, and for the first time, she didn't look angry or fake. She looked empty. "I'm going to disappear for a while." "Good idea. I'm not asking for your blessing," she added. I didn't offer it. She moved to the door, then paused. "If Lucian comes after you again, just be careful." I didn't respond, not because I didn't believe her, but because I'd already taken precautions. Lucian had power, but not forever. Not this time. He wasn't the man standing behind me anymore. He was the shadow shrinking in my rearview mirror. Later that evening, Elias and I went for a walk near the harbor. The sky was washed in oranges and pinks, the water flickering like molten glass. "I saw the article," he said. "I'm not surprised. She's unraveling." "She already did," I said. Elias stopped walking. "What's next for you?" I smiled. "Conquer the market, crush outdated legacies, become a name they can't ignore." He studied me. "And personally?" I hesitated. Then I said, "I want to live a life that doesn't make me look over my shoulder. I want real love, real peace. And if I can't have that at the very least, I want control over who I become." Elias didn't say anything for a moment. Then he stepped closer, gently took my hand, and said, "You already have that. You just need to stop waiting for someone to give you permission." I looked up at him, and for once, I felt like maybe the past wasn't all I had left. Maybe something real was finally beginning. The next week was calm, too calm. Business soared. Elias and I signed a 3-month campaign with a luxury skincare brand. Investors started noticing our numbers. We were even offered a feature in a national magazine, one of those glossy covers I used to stare at in my past life, thinking women like me didn't belong there. But now, they were asking me for quotes. I should have felt invincible. Instead, I felt watched. Little things started happening. my building's security system would glitch. A driver would show up that I hadn't booked. My phone would restart itself randomly, even though it was brand new. I changed passwords. I updated firewalls. I kept quiet, because when Lucian hunted, he didn't roar, he whispered. One night, as Elias and I were working late in his apartment, he offered to walk me down. Stay a little longer, he said. It's not like we're strangers anymore. I hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. We stayed up until midnight, talking about things that didn't matter: childhood memories, old school embarrassments, random facts neither of us had shared with anyone else. And then, when the silence settled comfortably between us, Elias leaned in slowly, as if waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. His kiss was soft, not rushed, not desperate, just safe. When we pulled back, he didn't ask what it meant. He didn't need to. He simply said, "I'll be here, whatever pace you need." And I believed him. That same night, just as I reached home, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. I let it ring out, then another, and another. Finally, I answered. No words, just breathing, and then a voice I hadn't heard in nearly a year, low, smooth, and cold. "Do you miss me, Audrey?" "Lucian." I didn't say anything. He chuckled softly. "You always knew how to play the long game. I'll give you that." Still, I stayed silent. I saw your little company. Impressive. I wonder how fast it would all fall apart if the wrong headlines came out. I swallowed. "What do you want?" "Oh, don't be so stiff. I just wanted to congratulate you and ask why you're still hiding behind that boy, Elias." Lucian had been watching. "You don't get to threaten me anymore," I said, heart pounding. "I'm not threatening. I'm reminding you. You had your turn. You gave up your place. But now you're starting to act like you deserve more." He paused. "You don't." The call ended. I stood in the hallway for a full minute, breathing hard, fingers trembling. I thought I was past this. I thought I was safe. I wasn't. The next day, I went to my office early. I called the lawyer. I updated the security team. I added surveillance to my apartment, my car, even my office floor. I didn't tell Elias. Not yet. Because part of me still wanted to believe Lucian would get bored and crawl back into whatever expensive hole he came from. But I knew better. He wasn't just angry, he was insulted, and men like him didn't forgive being outmaneuvered. 2 nights later, Elias noticed. We were at his place, eating Thai takeout from paper containers, when he asked, "Why are you checking the windows every few minutes?" I looked down at my plate. "Just habit." "You're scared." "No," I lied. "Just cautious." He reached out and took my hand. "You don't have to tell me everything, but if something's wrong, I need to know." So I told him, not everything, but enough. Lucian's call, the threats, the pressure. Elias didn't flinch. He didn't try to play hero. He just listened. Then he said, "Okay, we'll handle it. You're not alone." That night, I slept better than I had in weeks, until the fire. It happened 2 days later. The shipping warehouse we used for Eli Nora. An electrical short, the report claimed, but I knew. Lucian didn't want to hurt me directly. He wanted to bleed me out slowly, quietly, from the corners. He wanted me to lose faith. To second guess. To bend. But I didn't bend anymore. I rebuilt faster than they expected. We relocated our shipments, rebranded slightly, offered discounts, and launched a rebirth campaign that doubled our social media engagement. Elias pushed back meetings so I could rest. He brought me warm food when I forgot to eat. He never once made me feel weak for being angry, or scared, or tired, and for that, I loved him a little more. One afternoon, as we walked through a supplier's warehouse, he asked me casually, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't picture survival. I pictured a home, a balcony full of flowers, laughter in the morning, peace at night. "I see myself free," I said quietly, "and maybe not alone." He smiled. I liked that answer. But even as we smiled, I felt it again, the shadow, watching, waiting, and I knew Lucian was done whispering. Next, he'd strike. It happened just after midnight. My phone buzzed. No caller ID. Then the apartment lights flickered. Once, then again. I walked to the window and pulled the curtain back slowly. Across the street, a car sat with its headlights off, idling. I didn't move, didn't call anyone, didn't blink. I knew Lucian was here, not physically, perhaps, but his presence was heavy. In the air, like a storm before lightning, unseen, but impossible to ignore. I locked every door, checked every window twice. Then I sat at my desk and wrote a single line across my notepad. He wants me to react, and I wouldn't, because reacting meant he still had control. I'd learned the hard way. The more noise you make, the more men like Lucian enjoy it. But that didn't mean I would stay silent forever. The next morning, Elias came over early. He brought coffee. Didn't say anything about the dark circles under my eyes. He just looked at me for a long moment, then said, "I've booked us a private security firm. They'll be around 24/7. I opened my mouth to argue, but he raised his hand. "This isn't about fear, it's about preparation. You've built too much to lose it now." And I realized this wasn't just Elias protecting me. It was Elias seeing me as a leader, a builder, a future, and wanting to protect that future, not just the girl who carried it. I nodded, all right, but deep down, I knew Lucian wasn't finished. Later that week, my parents invited me to dinner. I almost declined, but something in Mom's voice made me say yes. When I arrived, I found Jamie there too. She looked like a ghost. No makeup, no jewelry. Her hands shook as she sipped water. "Jamie wanted to talk to you," Mom said gently. I raised a brow. "Really?" Jamie looked up. Her eyes weren't defiant anymore. They were hollow. "I know it's late," she whispered, "but I need your help." I stayed silent. Mom shifted uncomfortably. "She's not safe, Audrey. Not with Lucian. She chose him," I said flatly. Jamie winced. "I was wrong," she whispered. "He's not just controlling. He's dangerous." I leaned back. "Now you believe me? I didn't before. I thought you were being dramatic. But after last week," she didn't finish. She didn't need to, because we both knew. Lucian had crossed a line even Jamie couldn't justify anymore. "Why now?" I asked. "Why not 6 months ago, when he locked you out of the house? Why not when he canceled your cards and froze your accounts?" Jamie's lips trembled. "Because I thought I could fix it. That if I stayed quiet, it would get better." I stared at her. "It never does." She nodded slowly. "I know that now." I looked at our mother, who was pretending not to cry. Dad sat stiff, ashamed and helpless. "Do you want to leave him?" I asked Jamie. She blinked. I don't know." "Then I can't help you." She flinched. "You don't get to have my strength and your pride at the same time. You have to choose." Jamie didn't answer. She left not long after. Quiet, alone. I knew what that silence meant. She was still clinging to the fantasy that things might get better. That maybe Lucian still loved her, in some twisted, sick way. But love doesn't break you piece by piece and call it devotion. Love doesn't control. It builds. And Lucian had never built anything. Only destroyed. The following morning, a package arrived at my office. No name, no return address. Inside, a single item, a phone, already turned on, already recording. I played the video. Jamie, tied to a chair, Lucian's voice behind the camera. "She still thinks someone will save her." Jamie was crying, muffled sobs. "She still thinks you care." I paused the video. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. He wasn't threatening me. He was baiting me, trying to provoke me into acting rashly, trying to make me come alone. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I called Elias. Then I called the police, and for the first time, I played dirty. I released the video. Not the whole thing, just enough to show Jamie's bruises, the implication of Lucian's involvement. I sent it to 2 journalists. Anonymous tip. It spread like wildfire. By noon, Lucian was trending. By evening, investigators had raided one of his properties. By night, he was nowhere to be found, gone. But not for long. Predators like Lucian always circled back. Later, Elias sat beside me in my office. "You're too calm," he said. "Not calm," I replied. "Focused." "Do you want him caught?" "No," I said, voice cold. "I want him broken." Elias didn't argue. He just reached for my hand and held it gently. "I'm here," he said. "I know." And in that moment, I believed him, because for the first time, I wasn't just surviving a storm, I was becoming the storm itself. The next 3 days passed in a blur of headlines, legal filings, and tightened security. News outlets speculated on Lucian's whereabouts. Former employees came forward with accusations: abuse, threats, manipulation. Investors pulled out, partners cut ties. His family's business empire began to shake, cracks running deeper with every hour. It was everything I'd once dreamed of. And yet, I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because I knew Lucian. He wouldn't run forever. He wouldn't go down quietly. He'd wait until the world got tired. until the story cooled. Then he'd return darker, more dangerous than ever. But this time, I was ready. I had everything he underestimated: strength, support, and a voice. Late that Friday night, Elias and I sat in my office reviewing a contract. He was seated across from me, sleeves rolled up, fingers tapping absently against the table as he read a clause out loud. I wasn't listening. Not really. I was looking at him, the way his brow furrowed when he focused, the quiet steadiness in the way he breathed, the gentleness in his presence that made the air feel safe, no matter how hard the world outside tried to crush me. He looked up suddenly. What? I blinked. What? You're staring. Just thinking. About whether or not I deserve this, I said honestly. He set the contract down. Deserve what? This peace. This safety. You. Elias stood and came around the desk. He leaned back against the edge beside me, hands in his pockets. I know you've lived with the idea that love has to come with a price, he said, but I don't charge anything, and I'm not going anywhere. I didn't respond. He tilted his head. Tell me something real. I turned to him slowly. Lucian made me feel like I could be anything until I became something he couldn't control. Elias nodded. And now I'm someone he can't reach. Good, he said. Because the version of you sitting here right now, she's unstoppable. It was the first time someone looked at me and didn't see what I had survived. They saw what I had become. That night, I slept deeply. No phone calls, no nightmares, just silence, until 4:00 a.m. My phone buzzed once, then again, a security alert. I jumped up, heart in my throat. By the time I reached the front of my apartment, the guard was already holding someone down. Miss Chen, he said breathlessly. We caught her trying to get in through the staff entrance. It wasn't Lucian. It was Jamie. Her hair was soaked. She looked frantic, clutching a phone in one hand and bruises along her jawline. Let her go, I said quickly. It's okay. The guard hesitated, then stepped back. Jamie collapsed to the ground, sobbing. He's coming, she choked. He found out you leaked the video. He thinks I helped you. Audrey, he's going to kill you. I knelt beside her. Jamie, listen to me. You're safe now. She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. No one's safe. He doesn't care about damage anymore. He wants blood. I'm not afraid of him. You should be. I looked at the guard. Get her a blanket, a doctor, whatever she needs. Then I pulled my sister up and into my apartment. For the first time in a long time, I didn't see her as a threat. I saw her as what she truly was, another survivor. We sat on the couch, both of us shaking, but for different reasons. Why did you come here? I asked softly. Because I knew you wouldn't turn me away, she whispered. You were right. She looked down. I don't expect forgiveness. I didn't know where else to go. I poured her tea, handed it to her carefully. Jamie took it with trembling hands. I loved him, she said. Or at least, I loved the idea of being chosen, being special. I nodded. Me too. She looked up. Do you still love him? No, I said, voice steady, but I remember what it felt like to want to. She stared at me for a long time. Then she whispered, I was so cruel to you. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't answer, because sorry wasn't the point anymore. We both knew that. What mattered now was what came next. The next day, police issued a warrant. Lucian was officially wanted. Fraud, assault, blackmail, several charges stacked like a house of cards ready to fall. And then, finally on the 5th day, he was found, hiding in a hotel suite under a fake name. He resisted arrest, injured to officers, but they got him. And when the news broke, the city exhaled. I watched the press conference alone. No champagne, no celebration, just quiet, and one small, unsteady breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding for years. Released, later. That night, Jamie knocked gently on my door. She stood there, holding an envelope. I'm leaving the country, she said. For now, a reset. I need time. Where? Europe. Some friends offered help. I nodded. Do what you need. She hesitated. Can I write to you? I don't know, I said honestly. Jamie blinked fast, then handed me the envelope. Then just read this when you're ready. I didn't open it. Not yet. I watched her walk away. No drama, no insults, just goodbye. And when I closed the door, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Light. A week after Lucian's arrest, I finally opened Jamie's letter. It wasn't long, just a few pages, written in her rushed, looping handwriting. She didn't beg for forgiveness. She didn't make excuses. She simply told the truth. How she had admired me and hated me in equal measure. How she spent her life comparing every part of herself to me and always came up short. How marrying Lucian was never really about love. It was about beating me at something, anything. I didn't want to be saved, she wrote. I wanted to be worshipped. I wanted to be envied. I wanted to wear the crown, even if it was made of thorns. The last line stayed with me. You survived hell, Audrey. I kept trying to build one, and for once I believed her. I folded the letter and tucked it into a drawer I rarely opened. The one filled with reminders of who I used to be, not to forget, but so I'd never return. Elias and I kept growing Vellinora. Together, we expanded to new markets, built a team that felt more like family than employees. Our products became statements not just about beauty, but about survival, renewal, power. One morning, I walked into a meeting to find a photo from one of our clients on the big screen, a woman in her 60s, smiling in front of her small shop, holding one of our boxes. She said she never wore lipstick until she tried ours, my marketing director explained. Now she wears it every day, says it reminds her she still has a voice. That night, I stood on my balcony and watched the lights of the city flicker to life. The city had broken me, buried me, but I had clawed my way back, and I'd built something stronger than survival. I'd built meaning. Later that evening, Elias came over with a bottle of wine and a small box. I wanted to wait, he said, until things settled, until you had space to breathe again. I raised a brow. Wait for what? He handed me the box. Inside was a necklace, simple, elegant, not flashy, just a single polished stone hanging from a silver chain. I asked the artisan to shape it like a raindrop, he said, because it reminded me of the day we first walked together in the drizzle. You didn't complain once. I held it gently between my fingers. It's beautiful. I don't need an answer tonight, he said, or ever, if you don't want to give one. I just wanted you to know, whatever you choose, I'll be proud of you. I looked up at him. All the men in my past had asked for pieces of me. My silence, my submission, my forgiveness. Elias asked for nothing, only to stand beside me. So I leaned in, and this time, I kissed him first. Later, we sat on the couch, legs tangled together, sharing stories from our childhood like the past hadn't just nearly killed us both. I asked him once, do you ever get tired of being the good guy? He smiled. Only when no one notices. But you do. I rested my head on his shoulder. Always. A few weeks passed. Lucian's trial went public. Victims came forward. Evidence mounted. The media covered every detail. But I stayed away. I didn't attend the hearings. I didn't make a statement, because I didn't need the world to know what he did to me. I needed to prove, with my life, that he didn't finish me, and that was the loudest truth of all. Jamie sent postcards every now and then. France, Italy, once. A tiny village in Switzerland where she said the people barely spoke English, but they baked fresh bread every morning. I never replied, but I kept them in the same drawer as her letter. Sometimes, healing doesn't come in reunions. It comes in boundaries. In silence. In letting someone walk away and not chasing them. 1 year later, on the anniversary of Lucian's sentencing, I hosted a charity gala. Proceeds went to shelters for women leaving abusive relationships. As I stood at the podium, dressed in silver, the lights shining softly overhead, I looked out over the audience, and I saw women from every walk of life, quiet ones, loud ones, broken ones, healing ones. Each of them had survived something. Each of them had chosen to keep going. And that night, I didn't speak about Lucian. I spoke about rebirth, about how strength isn't always loud, how survival isn't always graceful, how winning doesn't always mean standing tallest. Sometimes it means simply standing when everything inside you screams to collapse. After the event, Elias found me on the balcony, watching the stars. He wrapped his arms around my waist and whispered, "You've become the woman I always saw in you." I turned toward him. "And you're the one who never tried to steal her light." He kissed me, not like an ending, but like a promise. And in that moment, I knew revenge had been sweet, but healing was divine. I had given my wealthy husband to Jamie. I had watched her burn. I had risen without needing to destroy her again, because the real power wasn't in watching others fall. It was in building something no one could take from me ever again. A life, a love, a legacy. And for the first time in 2 lives, I was finally free.